Good morning, Osceola students. Today we are going to look at how to add fractions with unlike denominators. A lot of times we have our fractions and they are lined up like horizontally. And so then we see this off to the side and we want to work with it like that. My recommendation is that whenever you see fractions that you line them up vertically up and down. So I'm going to erase these and I'm going to line those up vertically so that we have room to really kind of work because we're going to need to create a new fraction. So if we have 4/5, and again, I apologize, it's difficult to write this, 4/5 plus 1/8. The common mistake that happens is that students see this, and because of fourth grade, they remember, oh, all I had to do was add the numerator. And they have a tendency to add the denominator. The biggest problem, like I said, is people adding the denominator. You are not allowed to add the denominator. And the other rule is you never add the denominator. The other rule is that you add the numerator only when the denominators are the same. So I look here and this is 5 and this is 8. They are not the same. So I have to create an equivalent fraction for each of these that are the same, that have the same denominator in order to add them. So what I like to do again is skip counting. I just use the space over to the side, and I'd like to skip count up to the number 5. So 5, and it would be 10. Oh, sorry about that. 15, 20, and then we would stop at 25. Then we come over here and we would do 8, and then we have 16, then we have 24, 32, and then 40. Now, what I like to do is look to see if there is a common number between the two, because that's what's going to create a common denominator. And I look up here and I don't see any of these numbers down here. So when that happens, because I'm already at 5, I could skip count my 5s, which I'm going to do a little bit more until I see maybe one that I have the same. If it takes a while, that's part of the process. You just got to kind of push through. So the next one would be 25, then it would be 30, then we would have 35, and then we have 40. And now at that point, I see that the denominators are the same. Some students have been taught that when they have this, they just go ahead and multiply the two. The problem when you do that is if you're looking for the smallest form, you're going to have to do a lot of simplifying or reducing to get it to the smallest form. So the best rule of thumb is to do the skip counting and see the first number that they have that is the smallest number that they have in common. Well, this is the number that they have in common is 40 and 40. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to create a new fraction. And the reason we have to create a new fraction again is because the denominators are not the same. So we've established that the common denominator that they both can share is 40. So I put 40 underneath. Now I come over to my problem and I ask myself, what times 8 gives me 40? Well, if you're having trouble and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I got to do skip counting again. No, you don't. You just come over here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you skip counted 5 times, or 8 times 5 is 40. So in math, what we've been talking about is when you simplify, you have to have the same number on the top as the same number on the bottom because that's equal to a whole number. So with doing this of creating an equivalent fraction, we know from doing this the other day that you have to have the same number on the top as the same number on the bottom because we are creating an equivalent fraction that has the same denominator as another fraction. So we have to do 1 times 5, which is 5. And then here we have to ask ourselves, again, how many times did you what did you multiply times 5 to get you 40? And again, you could skip count over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you would write the number 8. And again, if you do it to the bottom, you've got to do it to the top because we need a number that is equal to 1. So 4 times 8 is 32. So now I look and I say, okay, I have like denominators. So I'm only going to, again, add my denominators. So 32 plus 5 is 37. And then my bottom number would not ever be added, and that is 40. Now, you look at this and say, is there anything that can go into 37 besides 1 and 37 to make this smaller? And if you think about the factors, the only two factors that can multiply together to get 37 is 1 and 37. So this is in the simplest form, and that's where you would stop.